Good morning. Hello, beautiful souls. So it seems that as soon as I wake up today in the beautiful sunny morning, it's not flurrying snow today, which is the first in a couple days, with the sun shining. It's as if I'm feeling kind of called to just open up and share and extend what's coming forward. And so I think today's topic is going to be on that of judgment, but I'm going to share a little bit of my experience with it so that we're not just speaking the words of it, but we can jump into what the A Course in Miracles means when it speaks of correction of judgment. And just 2 days ago, we had a lesson that judgment and love are opposites. That judgment leads to the sorrow and suffering of the world, and love leads to the peace of God. And so in recognizing that it literally is black and white like this, judgment extends from the source of ego, love extends from the source of God, and the source of God does not have judgment, and the source of ego does not have love. So we are recognizing that they are completely black and white in our minds, and this is literally how it works. And I think part of what's prompting me to share on this particular idea and then bring forward my experience of it was, this morning I had picked up the A Course in Miracles, and what it led me to was the idea of the escape from fear. And what that did is it almost unlocked within me how it is our responsibility to become aware when we are truly in that state of judgment. And we are in that state of judgment when we feel anxious, when we feel frustrated, when we feel that someone else is doing something to us. We are in that state of judgment when we feel sad or we feel guilty. And in the escape from fear in chapter 4, it speaks of how we must recognize that this is so and literally declare, I'm not going there. I am not going there, ego. You are offering me these tempting thoughts of judgment. I am not going there. But instead, that we want to choose the healing of our mind instead. And so that is when we call upon the Holy Spirit, say, Holy Spirit, I give this to you. I do not know what to think. I do not know what to say. I do not know how to change my mind to think with God, so I give this to you. This is our responsibility, to recognize when we're in judgment and ask for the correction. But then often people go, well, then what does that even mean? What does correction actually mean? What does it actually mean to change my mind? And so this is where I wanted to kind of bring it to. And beautifully enough, because the example that I'm going to use is what I experienced just yesterday, and it was with my beautiful husband, Tom, who just walked in the room. Hooray! And so this was almost like hidden a little bit in my mind, and I didn't even recognize it until, my experience yesterday. And what ended up happening is, I'm making breakfast like I always do, and then I actually kind of do stuff like that too. I make little noises, I often just sing random stuff. I make really loud, crazy noises, and I dance around, and I am a very loud person because I'm very excited and I'm very like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. And so it's, I've been going through this phase over the last year or two where I've just been kind of settling into this peace of God instead of being so exuberant and loud and excited and all of this stuff. And there are times when I can get really, really, really loud, and it's not conducive to what Tom is experiencing at the time. And since I've shared many, many, many times, we're going through bringing forward these projects, it takes a lot of precise thinking. It takes a lot of focus. It takes a lot of, intent to let what is being given in the mind to be translated to form. And so I appreciate that. I understand that. It is a practice that we need to do, to listen so intently, to bring forward the whole idea that is being given us in order to translate it into word, into form, into computer language. And so when I'm going, and I'm like singing my songs and dancing my dance, that's not really conducive to being focused. And yet over the last couple months, when Tom would go, shh, or like, babe, or do whatever he'd do to get me to be quiet, over time, I started to take that personally. So that each and every time I'd be like, dancing in the rain, and he'd go, shh, then I'd go, oh, and I'd take it personally, and I'd start to think that I have done something wrong. And it wasn't until yesterday when I was making breakfast that this happened again, that it was kind of like the babe, not now kind of deal. And that's when I was like, you know what? This doesn't feel good. I don't like you telling me to be quiet all the time. I feel like you're stunting me. I feel like you're telling me I can't communicate. I feel like you're telling me that I can't share. I feel like all of these things. And I just started spitting out my thoughts about it. And so what ended up coming of that is I got to basically see that what I was doing was repeating a pattern from the past. That when I was a young girl, that was something that used to happen to me all the time. I'd be really loud, I'd be really excited, and my parents would constantly tell me to be quiet. They would constantly tell me to be quiet, and I really, really, really didn't like that. And so I saw this comparison that when I'd be loud, Tom would tell me to be quiet. When I was loud younger, my parents would tell me to be quiet. And I guess this was a grievance that I had kept in my mind that I was unaware about, that I literally was projecting onto Tom. I was literally using this grievance against him in our relationship to make me feel separate, to make me feel like I'm not good enough, to make me feel like I'm just ruining everything. And this grievance was, in my mind, making me feel like I've done something wrong, that I'm totally in this place of upset, and it's all Tom's fault because he's telling me to shut up. And so what my mind started to do with this idea is it went to the whole category of you cannot share, you cannot communicate. And so even since I've been here in this house, I've made less videos, except for the daily Course in Miracles video. I haven't really talked to that many people on Skype. I haven't had that many communications because, there was a couple months where I was talking a lot to people. And it was as if I'd have communications with people for 4 or 5 hours a day, a lot of excitement, a lot of joy, a lot of stuff going on. And then when Tom would tell me, okay, is it okay if we, have some silence at this time? I was taking that personally. So it was this constant build-up of thoughts that I was not aware of until that experience happened. But I think my main point in this is to recognize that our lessons are given us to recognize them ourselves. The ego so very much wants to say, you're the cause of my upset. You're the cause of my pain. You're the one who's making me feel this way. But in truth, no one can make us feel any way. It is always up to how we see it. So because I was willing to take my defenses down and stop pointing the finger at Tom, was how I got to look into my mind with the Holy Spirit and recognize the source of this thinking. And the source of this thinking came from when I was a young child. And I saw this as a way for ego to use as ammo to keep me away from the lessons that I'm to learn with the Holy Spirit. And ultimately, the lessons that I'm to learn with the Holy Spirit is the acceptance of atonement for myself. The at one meant, accepting the one mind, the one Christ self that we are. And as the Course in Miracles shares very, very clearly, that the lesson of atonement is that of sharing. Atonement is synonymous with sharing. It's synonymous with giving. So because my ego has an opportunity to hijack me in an idea that says you don't want me to communicate or share, it literally almost shuts down my communication pipe. It literally almost puts this block in my mind, in my perception, from seeing what's actually going on here and the gifts that I really have to give. So instead of saying, yay, I'm going to prompt this because I'm inspired to share what I'm experiencing, ego says, no, you don't want to share it right now. Tom's kind of busy. And so I do this whole thing. And so this was where I also got to see this idea of the authority problem in my mind. There was still part of my mind that was saying that I have to be quiet because Tom says so, That goes back to little Brittany. I have to be quiet because mom and dad said so. So I'm not guilty for this. I am not in the wrong for this. I was just making a false conclusion in my mind that was completely untrue. And so now that this false conclusion is aware in my mind, and I realize that, oh my God, this is where it extended from. Now it's in the hands of the Holy Spirit. Now I'm witness to my innocence. Now I'm witness that I can share and I can communicate anytime I want, but I will remain in that communication with Tom first and be like, yo, babe, is this an appropriate time, and make sure that it's an even win-win situation for the both of us. So I'm not just doing it because Brittany wants to put the hat on and say, today's my day to talk to 500 people and forget that my husband's over there working on behalf of humanity too. But this allows me to see our equal nature. And I feel what else, taking this into my mind and sitting with the Holy Spirit, what else Holy Spirit showed me was it literally equalized me in our parts to play. because that's been a big thing that I have been saying for a long time, that, you know, Tom's always on the computer bringing forward this computer program. So what am I doing? All I do is talk to people. All I do is heal my mind or be with the A Course in Miracles. What's my part? I'm not doing anything. And so this whole situation created space in my mind for the ego to jump in and use it against me, to think that, again, I'm doing something wrong, or I'm not doing my part, or Tom's part is better than mine, or more important than mine. And so what the Holy Spirit showed me through this experience was how our part is exactly the same. You know, just because he is typing out the form of what we're bringing forward, my part is equal to it. That communication and sharing and being here as an equal partner to hear and to receive and then to give the gifts that have been given us to give is where the power is. You know, miracles happen through joining. They happen through the sharing of minds, the communication through the voice for God. And so if I wasn't here with Tom, this wouldn't happen. This wouldn't even be, really. And so I was shown very, very clearly how equal I am in this equation. And so I just went, like, leveled out the sonship in my mind. And then I saw this equalization just happening in with all others, like all human beings. Like, it went far beyond just Tom and I's holy relationship onto everyone and everything else. And so now this literally, like, unlocked within me what I have been hiding behind my own judgments. And so this is kind of the process that each and every one of us need to go through. So I guess I'll just break it down into 3 parts here now, you know. So the first one is the awareness that I'm not at peace. You know, I'm feeling something other than peace, so that means that I need to look at it. So that's the first one. I am not at peace. And so once we recognize we're not at peace, we have to do something with that. So that means that we have to become aware of what it is within ourselves that we are asking for other than this peace. So what am I asking for is the second step. And we must be very, 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 very curious about this and really want to know. Because if I'm not at peace, I must be asking for something other than peace. Because when I ask for peace, God's going to give me that peace. For that's his gift to us as his sons. And so what am I asking for? And as we saw with me, I was asking to feel separate. I was asking to have an excuse not to communicate. I was asking to feel that I was shut down, that I was, you know, told, you know, not to speak. And so I was asking to be in this place of non-communication. That's what I was asking for. And the whole point in all of this is to recognize in our minds where it is that we stunt communication so that we can let that go and open to communicating with the mind of God. So first, recognize I'm not at peace. 2, well then what is it that I'm asking for? And 3 is when we say, all right, I realize what I'm asking for. Holy Spirit, I give this to you. Show this to me differently. And then this is when we allow ourselves to be still. And I had a mixing of sitting open with the A Course in Miracles, being in my mind with God, and writing out what was giving me in my journal. So this was my practice with the Holy Spirit and asking the Holy Spirit, how do I see this differently? So each and every day when we ask this question surrounding a specific something that has come up in our life, then the Holy Spirit will meet us there. Because in that saying of, Holy Spirit, show this to me differently, we are A, recognizing that the way that we saw it before did not work, and B, we are open to receiving it differently from the voice for God now. So there's our willingness. That willingness will be taken by the Holy Spirit to show us a reinterpretation through its eyes, so that ultimately we can come back to forgiveness, we can come back to the innocent perception, we can come back to that place of equality, and thus have a gift to give. This is what it is. When we heal our minds with the Holy Spirit, we then are to share it. We then are to give it. We are then to help another with how we have been helped. So that's, I guess you can even say, the 4th part of this. You know, the sharing and the giving away of what we've healed and learned in our mind with the Holy Spirit. So that's it. Those are the practical steps of how it is that we can kind of unravel our thought system and you know, allow the voice of reason, the right mind of the Holy Spirit to undo our misperceptions of ego. So, I'm not at peace. What is this for? Ask for correction. Share it. Ta-da! So that's about it. I'm feeling quite complete. Is there anything else? Put my little notes in my journal. No, I think that's it. So, yep, I just want to share it with you all, moving from judgment to correction, and You know, perhaps apply this and try this in your own life, in your own world, and you will be surprised. You will be surprised that the Holy Spirit is there, walking you, holding your hand, and offering you a new way to see this as soon as you ask for it. So I love you, beautiful souls. Have a wonderful day. Bye.